So if you had a chronically low B12, would that decrease your athletic performance?
So B12 is an essential water-soluble vitamin. And as Nick perfectly said, so it's got lots of functions. It helps replicate our DNA. It helps carry our oxygen, so it helps make our red blood cells. And it's also really important in our neurological function.
And we know low energy levels can come from about 1 million different things. It could be your diet, it could be sleep, it could be certain illnesses. And so you build some hypotheses, some ideas as to what could be causing it.
So your full blood count is split up into 3. So you've got your red blood cells, your white blood cells, and your platelets. Your red blood cells, if they are low, that can be anemic, and that can make you feel very tired and lethargic. Your white blood cells are there to fight your infection, whether it's bacterial or viral. And then your platelets are there to help you clot.
Absolutely, and I'd say if you're vegetarian or vegan in particular, you're at high risk of low vitamin B12.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Helfy podcast. Today we've got our usual guests on who aren't really guests, they're part of our internal team, but we've got Dr. Helen, who's a consultant geriatrician and also a lifestyle doctor, and also Dr. Nik, who's a consultant in stroke and also a lifestyle physician. My name is Dr. Edward Lynch. I am an A&E doctor and also trained in lifestyle. And today what we're going to do is we're going to go through energy and all of the different types of blood tests that you need to optimize your energy. So we'll get straight into it. Nik or Helen, open the floor. Can we go through the key blood tests that we need to actually look at energy and work out what's going on?
Yes. Can I stop you though? But before we go straight into the key blood tests, for me, I still think the most important thing is taking a history, because it's great to take loads of blood tests, but actually you need to know which ones to do. You need to target which ones you need to do and then track them. So for me, it's always start with a history and then pick your blood tests. However, if we're going to talk about energy, so I think you'd have to do simple things like the full blood count to begin with. So your full blood count is split up into 3. So you've got your red blood cells, your white blood cells, and your platelets. Your red blood cells, if they are low, that can be anemic, and that can make you feel very tired and lethargic. Your white blood cells are there to fight your infection, whether it's bacterial or viral. And then your platelets are there to help you clot. And again, if they are raised, there can be signs of infection or clotting disorders. So that would be a simple one that I would do to begin with to see where you are.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Helen. It's about taking a history, and we know low energy levels can come from about 1 million different things. It could be your diet, it could be sleep, it could be certain illnesses. And so you build some hypotheses, some ideas as to what could be causing it. And then absolutely blood tests are key to start ticking off those hypotheses, trying to see which ones are correct, which ones you can rule out. And I think you're right, anemia, so low hemoglobin or low red blood cell counts, is an important place to start. It's a very common and important cause of tiredness.
Yeah, definitely. And then another one that is quite common would be your thyroid, wouldn't it? So we know that your thyroid gland located in your neck, and that is there to try and help regulate your body's metabolism. So if it is high, so you're hyperthyroid, you can feel, I suppose it speeds it up. And if your thyroid gland is working below, so it's low, you become hypothyroid, and that can make you feel very tired, very, very lethargic. So that would be one that I would definitely recommend would need to be checked.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's simple things that can be done. If you find these problems, simple things, if your thyroid's low, you can start on thyroid replacement therapy. Again, if you're anemia, you might need more tests. And I think some of those tests are blood tests that we might do at the same time, like checking your B12 levels, which is an important part of building blood cells and also building the nerve linings that are important for well-being as well. And the other one is your folate levels, which again are crucial for normal development and for preventing anemia as well, for creating your blood cells. So if we find these problems, there's more tests we can do, but there's also things we can do to treat them.
Yeah.
Can you go through B12? Can you just tell me a bit about like what is B12 and why is it important? I know you've mentioned the myelin sheaths, the nervous element, but can we go into B12 in a bit more detail?
So B12 is an essential water-soluble vitamin. And as Nick perfectly said, so it's got lots of functions. It helps replicate our DNA. It helps carry our oxygen, to helps make our red blood cells. And it's also really important in our neurological function. So B12 deficiency can be caused through diet alone, but then there are other reasons why you can become B12 deficient. So alcohol can affect it. Medication can affect your absorption of B12.
Laughing gas.
Laughing gas, apparently. I don't know that.
I've not heard of that one. But
fine, I will take it.
Yeah.
So there are, it's not as simple as your B12 deficient, let's replace it. It's finding out why. So going back to find out the root cause analysis, why is it low and what can we do to change it?
Absolutely. And I'd say if you're vegetarian or vegan in particular, you're at high risk of low vitamin B12 levels. So it's even more important to check it because we tend to get this from animal products.
Yeah.
And like say, even if you do eat meat, there's some conditions like pernicious anemia where your body can't absorb it. It's relatively rare, but that would mean you need to have B12 injections because your body won't be able to absorb it no matter how much you take, even if it's in a tablet supplement form.
Yeah, and there's different types of anemia, isn't there? Can we go through the different types? And because a B12 deficiency causes a particular type of anemia, doesn't it? Can we go into the different types of anemia?
So when you're anemic, you're obviously looking at your red blood cells. So the easiest way that I do it is you split it into 3. So your red blood cells can be swollen, so that's called a macrocytic anemia, and that can be due to your B12, your folate, low thyroid, so hypothyroidism, and alcohol. Then you can have a normocytic anemia, so your red blood cells are a normal size, and that can be due to chronic disease. And then you've got your microcytic anemia, where your red blood cells are smaller than normal, and that's normally due to iron deficiency.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and all of them can make you feel very tired if you haven't got the red blood cells carrying oxygen and around your body to support you. So all 3 are important and need looking into.
Yeah. Where does HB come into diagnosing anemia? So you're talking about the red blood cells, but where does a HB result come into that? Or does it not at all?
It's really important. So HB or hemoglobin is the molecule that's in your red blood cells that's carrying the oxygen around your body. So red blood cells are important, but actually the hemoglobin inside those blood cells are the key thing that's carrying the oxygen and keeping you feeling energized and your metabolism working effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get that result in your full blood count, which is what you'd say when you go to your doctor. You'd ask for your full blood count to look for your anemia.
Yeah. I would say like a full blood count and the thyroid functions are kind of bog standard tests, which we do all of the time in the NHS. Yeah. But I think if we're looking at moving a bit more into like the lifestyle blood testing, I don't feel as though as many people, you go to A&E or you go to your GP, pretty much everyone gets a full blood count all of the time because it's almost mandatory. If you've got a bit of an infection or whatever, they'll always do an FBC on you. And a thyroid, maybe not quite as common, but I do feel as though most people have had the thyroid tested at some point. I would say lots of people haven't had the B12, the folate, the high sensitivity CRP, those blood tests which are a bit more niche. I don't think that many people have had them. So I think you're exactly right, Helen. Like, we need to target what blood tests people have in terms of like the history and what they're presenting like. But then I think they also need to explore these more niche tests. And even like testosterone, if you're a guy, we need to look at if, they could have really, really low testosterone, which is impacting their energy. I don't know where you guys stand on that.
No, I'm definitely with you. I think coming back to B12, I think it's one of those things that everyone should get checked at least once in your life because you don't want to have low levels and not know about it because it can have quite serious consequences, not just anemia, but like we said, that impact on your nerves, your nerve sheaths, which can be quite significant and dangerous in the long term and even can make you more prone to dementia. So I think you're absolutely right.
I wonder if that impacts, the myelin sheaths are there to increase the speed of electrical conductivity, isn't it? I wonder if that will affect like actual function. So if you had a chronically low B12, would that decrease your athletic performance? I don't know the answer to that.
I'd have thought almost certainly if you've got low B12, optimal athletics performance is going to need you to be optimised in pretty much every way, isn't it? Especially something like B12 that's so crucial for energy transfer.
Yeah. And then how about things like cortisol and iron and ferritin? I think they're incredibly important biomarkers as well to get tested.
Yeah, well, to me, the iron and the ferritin they come into the full blood count again. It's what Helen was saying about the microcytic anemia. If you've got low iron levels, your blood cells will be smaller and less effective. So I think if you're doing a full blood count, you may as well check them at the same time because they're a possible cause of anemia.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think ferritin, though, because we know it's an acute phase reactant, so it can go up So I don't know if if you're feeling unwell with an illness, it can go up. So sometimes I think that can give you a falsely high reading. I wouldn't always do that routinely for low energy, I don't think.
My knowledge of ferritin was that it was like the total amount of iron storage which is in the body. Like in effect, it's how filled your tank is of iron. That's always the analogy that I've been given. Yeah. But then, how does it change depending on reactions?
So I think it's one that you can use. So again, you do it looking out for, because there's other reasons. So very high ferritin can be caused to hemochromatosis. However, as I say, if when we call it an acute phase, like the high sensitivity CRP, so if something is going on, so I don't know, infections or stress, the result can go up.
Yeah.
And then, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I would worry about it straight away.
Yeah, it's what we call an acute phase reactant. So your body, it's part of the inflammatory cascade of chemicals that your body makes when inflammation's in place, which is interesting because you mentioned high sensitivity CRP, which is also part of that cascade.
Yeah.
So low levels, might say you've got poor iron stores, which means you're at risk of anemia. High levels might make you think there's inflammation going on, which in itself is a cause of potential lethargy and tiredness. That chronic inflammation can do terrible things to your body.
Yeah,
well.
and vitamin D as well. I think that's incredibly important. I actually tested a guy yesterday, and his vitamin D came back. It was the best level that I've seen pretty much in the past 2 years, and it wasn't even that high. But when we test people in the UK, pretty much everyone's deficient in vitamin D, and that's where NICE have come out now and said everyone from September to March in the Northern Hemisphere should be taking a vitamin D supplement every day. Yeah. That's like national guidance now. I do think though, if something's low, that's when we can start to look at replacing it. But step 1 is history. Step 2 is order the right test, and then step 3 is replace it if we can through diet or lifestyle, and then looking at supplements. I think that's always like the best way of doing it. But what's complicated is how they all interplay, because your FBC impacts, your iron might impact the size of your red blood cell, but that also might be caused by a B12 deficiency or whatever. Yeah. And I think you've got this very complicated picture that people genuinely don't know how to navigate it. Yeah. It's like they get a result. There are blood testing companies out there who sponsor horse racing, for example, who can do a massive panel of bloods. You can just go online and order whatever you want, which I don't think is that helpful, because actually speaking to somebody who's educated in it will go, well, like you've just alluded to a few things there. I was like, well, you don't actually necessarily need that in your case. This would be more appropriate for you. So people can save a lot of money as well by speaking to somebody, getting the right test, and then getting those results interpreted by a doctor. Because, I've had patients come into A&E with a booklet from private blood testing companies going, I'm crapping myself because of my results here, because it'll show like, low on TSH or whatever. And they'll come back and be like, what am I supposed to do with this? And they've had no follow-up. Yeah. And they're like, what on earth does this mean? Because they literally get like a 100-page booklet with all of the bloods in. And it's not helping them direct their future care.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the other things is you might get an abnormal blood result and you might think that that's the reason why you're feeling really unwell, but it might be something else because you've not tested or you've missed. So for me, I always think go and see, if you're feeling unwell, go and see a doctor first. Get that history so that you can be investigated properly. And I'd also say, you nicely said step 1, step 2, step 3, But for me, step 4 is always retest.
Yes,
so
definitely.
if you're going to supplement, you need to retest to make sure that what you're doing is having a positive effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that concept we keep talking about of being a scientist of yourself, finding the problem, making a change, and then seeing if the change has worked, and you keep going round in loops and hopefully progressively making yourself fitter, happier, healthier as a result.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also interesting to look at the reference ranges though. You know, when we talk about like the upper limit and the lower limit, do you want to go into a little bit about that, Helen, with the bell curve of...
You'd always ask me.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I think it's true. I think, so as doctors, you'll always have a reference range, and most people will be within that reference range. However, I would say don't worry if you're not, because we call it a bell curve, and actually at the bottom on the horizontal line, they never fully meet. And so there are going to be some people who it's normal for them to not be within that reference range. But I would say the important thing is to track your blood test. Don't just do a one-off reading, because if you are way outside of the reference range, you want to make sure, is there actually something else significantly going on from a medical point of view, or is that normal for you? And the way you'll do it is by repeating and retesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Those reference ranges are for the population. They're not what's right for you. And that means you need someone to help you interpret your results to know if it's what's relevant to you.
The other thing that I learned the other day that blew my mind was that different parts of the country have got different reference ranges for different blood results. So we've got like a bit of a geographical lottery as to what reference range that you're going to fall into. So in certain parts of the country, they accept a slightly higher upper limit of cholesterol than in other parts of the country. So in certain areas, it's like 6, but and then other areas, it's like 5 for a total cholesterol result. And if mine was 5.6, I would want to try and get that down if possible. But it's funny, isn't it, that the NHS have given local communities the power to say, well, we'll accept a level of 6 here. But like the health outcomes are obviously going to be a lot worse in that community. So that just baffles me.
Absolutely. And like you say, reference range, or we used to call it normal limits, are just that. It's what's normal. And being healthy, having a good cholesterol isn't necessarily normal. You know, having a kind of cholesterol that means you're going to reach the age of 90 without having a heart attack isn't a normal cholesterol. So it might be normal for the population, but it might not be what you want your cholesterol to be. Yeah. So again, it's all about how you interpret those results.
Yeah. And to be honest, that's why I like the healthy blood testing that we've made, because a lot of the problems that we're seeing, which is there is no follow-up. People don't understand the reference ranges. They can't track it over time. They don't speak to a doctor. Like there's all of those issues, I think, have been solved by the healthy blood testing. It goes through your front door, you prick your finger, it goes off, and we will not do your test unless you speak to a doctor. So you have a history beforehand, we work out what you need, you get a tailored test, you take it, you get the follow-up that you need from a doctor, and then you can track it all on the app. You know, I think it solves all of those pain points that we've talked about, where you don't then have to go to A&E and be like, I'm panicking because I've had this blood test and I have no idea what's going on. I just think, again, it baffles me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sound. Is there anything else you want to go through on blood testing?
No.
I think they're the main things.
Yeah.
Like we keep saying, it's all about being a scientist of yourself, isn't it? Knowing what you need to test for, getting the tests, making a change, and then testing again.
Before we cut, is there anything else that we've missed that you want to go through?
No, but I feel bad about your ferritin. I hate ferritin. I never do it routinely.
What do you mean?
Because I feel like I should have said I love ferritin, but I was like, I never do ferritin.
Yeah.
It's fine.
No, it's good because, like you say, it brought us into inflammation and HSCRP, which is important, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, don't apologise at all.
However, I felt like there was an MRCP question. I was like, hemochromatosis?
Okay, sound. Cool. Very good. Do you want me to do an end into that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if you ever feel like you want to get some of your blood testing done, please go on to behelfy.com and look at the blood testing that's available there. They are just standard panels. We'd obviously, based on this podcast, recommend that you speak to one of us first. You can book a consultation and then we can tailor the test to you and get that sent out to you. But we would love to help. We've got a great team of doctors here who can look into all of those specific problems that you might be having. And of course, we all want more energy. It's a bit like money, isn't it? Energy. We all want a little bit more of it. You can always have a little bit more and it helps. So if you would like some help with the energy stuff, have a look online, book a consultation, and we'll order a specific test to what your body needs. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.